Thank you, Speaker. I urge everyone to vote for this legislation. I've read it, creating a plan, working with LEAs, working with law enforcement as it relates to fire alarms is fine. Good idea. I'm surprised that they already don't have plans as it relates to fire alarms and fire drills. That's fine. My problem is not with this legislation. It's with the lackadaisical attitude on how we got to this point. The killing of people in our districts, as someone alluded to, and at the Covenant School, I thought would urge us to address the issue of gun violence. This legislation does not do that. It does not prevent guns from getting inside of the schools. It is saying, let's have a plan for when and if that happens again. That is not trying to eliminate the problem. Those incremental, as was mentioned by the sponsor, steps is again preparing for tragedy instead of preventing tragedies from happening in the first place. And our jobs as legislators, as people who live in the great state of Tennessee, where gun violence is the #1 killer of children, I would think our job as legislators would not just be to prepare for these incidents to happen in our schools, where our children and our neighbors and our nieces and our nephews learn, but rather prevent these tragedies from ever happening in our schools. But this legislation prepares for tragedy, doesn't prevent them. And I've yet to see, and I am obviously proposing legislation this session focused on preventing these tragedies at Covenant and across our communities from continuing to happen by dealing with the root causes and not just the horrid, horrible ramifications of them. And so, yes, some people can slow walk that journey of 1,000 miles or whatever. But others of us who are intentional and wanting to see progress and wanting to see change don't have time for some folk to slow walk their way to justice. We need them to speed up and to stop walking and to start running.
Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, sir, you'll forgive me. I've been here 12 years and have passed hundreds of bills that have helped make this state safer. So I truly believe in that journey of 1,000 steps, and each one of them is important. I value every single one of them, and I value the work of this body, and especially those members that have been here long, long before I ever got here, that were working on these issues and trying to improve our state. Folks can focus on just one big thing and hope that it passes, while the rest of us focus on hundreds of things that will actually make a difference.
Representative Pearson.
Thank you for saying that. And folks, number of years of service doesn't mean numbers of years of impacting and preventing tragedies. Because I don't know, you mentioned this statistic in the previous thing, but I want to stay on this bill and make sure that we're focused on why I think this is an ineffective piece of legislation to address the root causes of the problem that created it, because it was the smoke from an AR-15 that led to the fire alarm going off at this school. So I want to make sure that we stay focused on that. But in your 12 years, it didn't prevent the Covenant shooting. It didn't prevent the 398 homicides in Memphis, Tennessee. It didn't prevent gun violence being the #1 killer of children in our state. It didn't prevent all of that. So you may have been doing a lot for 12 years, but you've got a whole lot more that you need to do. Seconds.
Leader Lambert, he stopped. You got Leader Lambert. Are you saying that you don't? I can come back here for a second. Would you don't want to respond? All right, Representative Pearson.
Thank you so much. As a body, let us pass this legislation, but let us commit to passing more legislation that prevents gun violence in our state. Thank you.
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.